Sex workers of Reddit. What is the funnest thing a client has ever asked you to do? There is an older lady in our congregation who did cage dancing and all sorts of other interesting jobs for money back in the 60s and 70s. Her funniest story about her previous line of work was about people who had diaper fetishes. She said they would often just ask her to put adult-sized diapers on and roll around and act like a baby. One of the guys was the owner of one of the banks in the city. She said she just started laughing when she saw him and couldn't stop and had to leave if he was there. Hog tie him and ignore him for 2 hours. Easiest money I've ever made. Had a friend who was a cam girl in college. She'd tell me stories all the time. My favorite was the one where she was taken private and got to brutally insult this dude's micro penis. And boy do I mean micro. Thing was maybe 2 inches fully erect. She sent me pictures so I could also make fun of him. I didn't, because it gave me secondhand disappointment. I think my personal fav from my dominatrix days was the guys that wanted to be my pet. Usually they were a dog, sometimes pigs or other random critters. They'd crawl on the floor and lick feet and make whatever animal noise. There are much crazier fetishes out there, but I always thoroughly enjoyed those clients. Girl I knew in college briefly did Craigslist personals for extra cash. Said she had one guy that had her come over and just play video games with him all night. Super sweet guy apparently, even decently attractive. She always wondered why he couldn't just get a girlfriend. Absolutely nothing sexual. They'd just play Xbox, smoke weed, order pizza, and she got paid for it. My guess was that he was in a relationship that ended and he just wanted some company. Maybe him and his ex would play video games together and he just missed the companionship. Which I totally get. After my last big breakup I really wasn't looking for sex or a girlfriend at all. I'd have much rather just had someone hang out with me and make me forget I was sad for a little while. My time to shine. I might be a bit late to the thread, but I've been a high-end escort in New York City for 2 years. I don't have amazing answers, but I'll try my best. TBH I thought this said funniest instead of funnest, but, well, there's a lot of overlap between those two, I suppose. My favorite funny story about a client is this one. I had a client who's a very successful software engineer for a very big tech company. His social skills are non-existent, but he's a nice person and, I mean, he pays in full at the beginning of the appointment and he's polite and hygienic and never complains about having to wear a condom. And that's basically my dream client. He came to my apartment for an appointment. This was like our 4th time. Saw that I had a Roomba in the corner on its charging base. I just bought it like a week prior. He literally squealed and insisted that I start it up so he could watch. So I turned it on, and then stepped into the bedroom to change into lingerie, expecting him to watch it for a minute and get bored, and then come into the bedroom. Nope. This nerd spent 2 hours watching this stupid robot bounce around my apartment, scooping up literally no dust because I'd run it earlier that day. He loved it. I slinked out of the bedroom and stepped into the living room and sat on the couch while he walked around, tailing the little robot as it wandered around my apartment. For a few minutes, it kinda annoyed me that this was happening. Like, dude, I spent a lot of time getting ready for this, and you're more entertained by a robot vacuum cleaner? But after like 10 minutes, I just started chuckling to myself. I think it's really funny to imagine me in lingerie with a full face of makeup and perfect hair, just sitting on the edge of the couch waiting for this nerd to get his fill of the Roomba. We didn't even have sex. I actually let him stay like half an hour longer than normal. Very unusual for me. And then he left and we scheduled another appointment. I see him every 2 weeks now, approximately, and he still needs to see the Roomba run for a few minutes before we do anything else. It's pretty cute, and I think it's pretty fun to watch it with him. Sometimes we hold hands while we watch it bounce around. It's very intimate. Our palms are raw with desire. Edited to add, he sometimes brings a Ziploc bag of his own pocket lint that he's collected since our last appointment so that he can spill on the floor in front of the Roomba as it scoots around. I mean, come on, how adorable is that? In terms of funnest, I don't really have a lot of answers that would really be perfect bait for Ask Reddit, but I have a few interesting ones. I got to play strip chess with one client, which wasn't super fun since a game of chess takes a while, and also because I did not know how to play chess. I've also been able to travel around a lot, and that's exciting. Bragging about getting to travel around the world for free isn't what the hungry masses of Ask Reddit come here for, but, well, that's the funnest thing I've done in this work. This one is more sad and funny, but I think there's some humor to it. This client is a pretty famous comedic actor. He's on a pretty popular show and there's a good chance you've seen him, or at least heard of him. Think Tina Fey when she was on 30 Rock or Jack Black at any point in the last 20 years, kind of famous. A lot of people would recognize him, and they generally think he's funny. He's also pretty cute. A girl I went to high school with had such a big celebrity crush on him that she changed her last name on Facebook to his last name for, like, 3 years. I've signed an NDA and I will not share his name or any other identifying details. Turns out he likes to watch the show that he's on after we have sex. Okay, fine, great, not a big deal. It's a decent show. He even gives me the email and password for the streaming service that it's on so we can watch it on my TV while we're still in bed cuddling. Clients love cuddling. Man. They love it. He laughs at every single joke that any character on the show makes, except for his own. When I ask him about this, he looks me dead in the eyes and says I don't think I'm funny. To be clear, he is specifically known for being funny. Edit. Since people keep asking, it's not Andy Samberg, unfortunately, but getting to watch TV with clients for an hour or two is pretty fun. And as someone who's working on a master's degree in social work, getting to learn about the weird f***ed-up psyches of the rich and famous is weirdly fun as well. I'm trying to think of more. I once got a request from a potential client to not take a shower for 4 days before meeting him. No thanks. I also once had a guy ask if we could have a threesome with his twin brother. Nope. Those aren't fun, but I think they're pretty funny. And also had one request from a longtime regular to move to Hawaii to live with him forever. That would cost a lot of money for you, wouldn't it, I said, because you'd still have to pay me for all of that time. He stared blankly at me and then finally realized that I was explaining that I wasn't going to move 5,000 miles away and give up my job just for one client. That one was weird. Had a guy who once just asked me to roll around on the ground and make link noises for a minute on video. That was fun. Had another guy who asked for a 30-minute video of me just eating gummy bears, not topless or anything. My favorite was my deal with the local pizza guy. I'd send him X amount of nudes and he'd give me free pizza. Had to cut him out though when he tried to pursue a relationship. A guy used to pay me to watch me get professional massages. That's it. Nothing sexual. The masseurs would come to the house and the client would sit in the corner and watch. He wouldn't even touch himself. It was amazing. Best gig ever. I miss it sometimes. My ex was a cam girl and had this one client that would pay her to vacuum the house in her underwear. He would have paid more if she had a shop vac. Not me but a friend. She is a professional cuddler, 160 per hour, that has a man that pays her to come to his home office on Mondays while he makes his cold calls for the week. She sits behind him and holds him all cuddly like the whole hour. She comes every week and his sales have gone through the roof. He told her he used to dread this part of the job and was full of anxiety before she started coming. I used to have a regular who paid me to clean my home, which I worked out of twice a week, dressed in a maid outfit. No interaction, no nothing. Interacting with him in any way with his vibe. He had this whole ongoing headcanon about what I did with my other clients based on how furniture, toys and objects had moved, the laundry in my baskets and so on and so forth. And that was what he wanted to get to in the privacy of his own home. Stripped through uni, I had one customer who found out I did martial arts, and he booked the VIP room just so we could wrestle BJJ style. I had another regular who had a tickle fetish. We all called him Elmo, and Elmo would book 3 girls for an hour, take a 10 or so minute break, and do it all again 3 or 4 times. You got to take your click-clacks off, put your comfy shirt on over your lingerie, and tickle him. That was it. Elmo was the best and easiest money I'd ever made. Had an aunt who was a call girl in the 50s and 60s who was a favorite of a few high-rolling racehorse owners. She enjoyed telling the story of how one of them loved to be saddled like a horse and had her ride him naked with a horse whip. I remember reading a story about Dave Navarro when he was in the depths of addiction. Wouldn't leave the house for days. Would pay escorts to come over and do puppet shows for him. I work at a night bar as a stripper. A customer booked me for a private room, and while I was getting near him, he asked me timidly if he could slap my forehead. At first, I was surprised, but since it is the forehead, I decided to forget the no touch rule. Strangest night of my life. Not a sex worker, but I asked one this question once. I wasn't a client. Not so funny, but she said once a week, a guy pays her to hold him while he cries for an hour straight, and that's it. A guy used to pay me to wear high heels of his choice and walk around stores with him. Nothing sexual ever happened. He occasionally just wanted to hold hands while we walked. An ex-girlfriend of mine who also worked for fun in a brothel told me they had one customer who always wanted to have a shower together with her, with cold water. She charged €100 extra for that.